This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Ease, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery. The folks over at Ease have put together a great resource on their blog, found over at ease.com/blog, that details how things look around the Golden State in terms of marijuana delivery. You can always be assured that when you actually place an order through Ease, their system will tell you exactly what your local laws are around cannabis delivery. But if you're not a resident of California or just want to see how other towns are handling things, then you should check out Ease's blog. Again, found at ease.com/blog. And if you do live in California and are ready to place an order, or at least find out if you can, then you just need to fire up ease.com and start browsing. One last time, that's ease.com, which is spelled E-A-Z-E. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, January 9th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 405 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day starts us off in Massachusetts, where state lawmakers are responding to yesterday's statements from Massachusetts U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling on how his office will handle state legal marijuana in the wake of U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions' rescinding of the Cole memo last week. Yesterday, Mr. Lelling clarified statements he made last week about cannabis-related prosecutions by saying that he could not guarantee that he would not be going after businesses in compliance with state law, but out of compliance with federal marijuana law. Mr. Lelling specifically said, quote, "I must proceed on a case-by-case basis, assessing each matter according to those principles and deciding whether to use limited federal resources to pursue it," unquote. Last week, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker said he thought Sessions' move was a bad one, and more recently, State House Speaker Robert DeLeo told reporters, quote, "If you're a person looking to come into Massachusetts and to open up a cannabis business, I'm not sure what type of message that sends, or what type of security that gives, or lack of security, I should say," unquote. Leafly has a great long-form piece up diving into Canada's legal cannabis market and how cultivators there are regulated in terms of their use of pesticides and other chemical agents. This is an issue we've covered extensively, with Canada deciding last year to impose strict new rules for pesticide use after a number of widespread product recalls by licensed medical marijuana providers. As Leafly's piece nicely lays out, the stakes are now very high indeed for Canadian cultivators, with possible fines up to $1 million and new inspection regimes helping to keep things growing cleanly. This is an issue that Canada is definitely out in front of the United States on, so I would encourage all listeners to open this one up for a full read and to keep this on your radar. Our final top story of the day pulls us out to the middle of the country, where a Kansas state representative is being criticized for being a facts-challenged, bitter old prohibitionist racist. Kansas State Representative Steve Alford was filmed during a town hall meeting defending marijuana prohibition by saying, quote, "What you really need to do is go back in the 30s when they outlawed all types of drugs in Kansas across the United States. What was the reason why they did that? One of the reasons why, I hate to say it, was that African Americans, they were basically users, and they basically responded the worst off to those drugs just because of their character makeup, their genetics, and that," unquote. That, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll have to excuse my language here, is a bunch of stupid racist bullshit. It's stupid because, well, obviously. It's racist because, again, pretty damn obvious there. And it's bullshit because, like all of the anti-reefer propaganda developed in the 1930s, from which this particular argument is from, was invented wholesale by a bunch of propagandist racists looking to stamp out demon weed. Once again, that stupid racist bullshit comment was said by Kansas State Representative Steve Alford. Open up Bruce Barcott's piece over at Leafly for more context on this one. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Ease, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery. Ease partners up with the top dispensaries in their active areas, so you always know that you're going to find quality products at great prices. You can find all kinds of cannabis for delivery on ease.com, including flowers, topicals, edibles, oils, concentrates, and tinctures. If you live in California and are ready to place an order for legal marijuana, just fire up ease.com and get started. In almost no time at all, your doorbell will be ringing with your newly delivered cannabis. That's ease.com, spelled E-A-Z-E, ease.com. All right, time for the Blitz. Swinging up north to Canada, we have news of a large round of fundraising just announced by licensed medical marijuana provider, the Hydropothecary Corporation, which is entering into a deal with underwriters led by Canaccord Genuity to raise a total of $100 million Canadian, or just over $80 million US. The deal grants the underwriters an option to buy in for another $15 million Canadian within 30 days of closing. Swing over to New Cannabis Ventures for all the details and numbers on this one. Keeping our sights up in Canada, we have the province of Saskatchewan laying out some of the details for how they'll handle the nationwide adult use legalization set to roll out later this summer. Provincial officials made the announcement yesterday, saying they would regulate legal cannabis through their Liquor Control Board and would, unlike some other Canadian provinces, embrace private sector dispensaries for handling sales. Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval said yesterday that he wants his state to follow in the footsteps of Colorado in regards to legalizing marijuana and how they interact with federal law enforcement. Governor Sandoval was asked about the recent rescinding of the Cole memo and how that could affect his state's legal cannabis sales, to which he said, quote, "I know that the U.S. Attorney in Colorado has already said that he's not going to enforce federal laws against the legalized marijuana industry in that state. I would like to see something similar here in Nevada, but that's a discussion that needs to be had." Unquote. Alicia Wallace over at the Cannabist picked up on the latest marijuana-related poll released by the Pew Research Center that finds that nationwide support for cannabis legalization to be growing. Overall, 61% of those polled said that they were in favor of legalizing adult use marijuana, up 4% from last year's mark. Slight increases were also seen in the ranks of Republican supporters, now ticking in at 43% over last year's 41%, as well as in respondents ages 71 to 88, who saw a similar 2-point rise from 33% in favor last year to 35% this year, though both those increases were within the survey's margins of error. Another good one to click over for more details. Marijuana Business Daily is reporting that the Canadian Securities Exchange, a financial securities exchange operating in, you guessed it, Canada, upon which a number of cannabis-related companies have been trading, is now asking those companies to publicly disclose any business relationships they have in U.S. marijuana markets. Of the 343 securities listed on the exchange, 56 are reportedly in the medical marijuana industry, with 17 of those having some kind of dealings in the U.S. Leafly has another great long-form article up, worthy of a click, looking at how marijuana businesses are involved with a kerfuffle that's a-brewing in Los Angeles over ownership of the publication The LA Weekly, which made headlines themselves in November when it was purchased by a group of initially unnamed investors who swiftly fired most of the editorial staff in a move likened to the Game of Thrones Red Wedding. Marijuana plays a part in the story because of the lifeline that Cannabis Dispensary Ads is providing the LA Weekly. If you're into media and marijuana, this is another good one to open up in full. And finally for today, Rolling Stone has another long-form piece up that you really need to read about how small-scale California farmers are navigating the new marijuana waters of adult use legalization brought about by Prohibition 64. This is another story we've touched on before, with a lot of criticism being thrown at California lawmakers for their decision last year to remove a number of legislative protections set in place for smaller-scale marijuana cultivators. This is one of those situations that's likely to pop up in other states, so even if you're not a Golden Stater yourself, you should give this one a read. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Why can't bicycles stand on their own? Because they're too tired. Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today.
One take, Shay. One take.